What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sith Council. What a busy busy week we've had so far. It was the Black Adam spoiler discussion we had on Monday. Rachel Cushing-Levine came in on Tuesday, and we did a full-on House of the Dragon season episode, not to include all the spoiler episodes for House of the Dragon, and then the big James Gunn news yesterday, so we covered all that, trailer reactions for Ant-Man. It's a massive week. So I hope that if you're brand new to the channel, that you have already, well, this is Sith Council. You're going to be seeing that in just a little bit. But if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Trying to get to 70,000 by the end of the year. We're almost at 60, man. We're almost there. I'm hoping tonight I'm going to see Black Panther, and I'm going to do a out of the theater reaction. I hope you check me out for that. Now, on this episode, as you saw in the title of the video, we're going to be doing a full-on Andor. We'll be doing a full-on Andor spoiler discussion, right? And we're also going to be talking about the big news of Lindelof. He was talked about, rumored by Jeff Snyder months ago. Now it really looks like it's moving forward. It looks like his movie is going to be first, because I don't think the Taika movie is happening anytime soon. And that lends itself to the other conversation where President of Disney, Bob Chapek, basically told Kathleen Kennedy, "Hey, stop announcing movies before we're ready to go. It's not good." We'll talk about that as well. I got Steph here, I got Mike here, I got everybody here, and we're excited about it to talk about it with you guys. And what else I'm excited about is we've got the Sith Council merch flying off the shelves. You guys have been buying it, and there is still a discount on TeePublic right now. It's going to be going. The sales is going to only last for a little longer, so make sure you get it. There's Sith Council. There's Show Some Class, the Flirt and Flouse, Capes and Cowls, and of course, the Top Gun guy. That's not it. The Top Gun guy. Mike, say it.
The Top Gun guy?
Perfect. The Top Gun guy is on sale, so make sure you go and check that out. If you haven't already checked out our Patreon, please do that. We have a lot of different things going on up there. I have one-on-one sessions I do with everybody, a Q&A. We have SEN Live, Brett and Kate's Playdate. We're going to be doing a lot of questions from you guys. There's so much happening over there. We really hope you check it out. Patreon.com/TheBigThingShow. So let's get into it, man. Andor. What do people think about this episode? I can't wait to hear about it. It's me. It's Mike. It's Steph. It's Do It. It's the Sith Council. All right, everybody. Ready?
I can feel your anger. It gives you focus. Makes you stronger.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Sith Council, big episode here today, man. We got a lot to talk about. Joining me to talk about Andor, Kathleen Kennedy, Damon Lindelof, Tales of the Jedi, Dark Sabraw.
I looked so upset. I don't feel the way that I looked. I'm telling you, I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, and it is exciting to have you here. Now, also today, gracing us with his birthday presents.
Yeah,
Mike
yeah, boy.
Well, yeah, boy.
Yeah. What's up, man? How are you?
What's going on? I'm good.
We're in as Al Pacino would say, we're in the dark here. You understand?
What? What's
we're
that?
in the dark.
Which one's
Oh
that?
yeah, I like the red light.
Yeah.
Too.
Which one's that from?
Scent of Woman.
That was your Pacino from Scent of Woman?
I didn't really do it that much. I wasn't.
I'm just getting warmed up. Who's that?
The little piece of tail.
Is
That's
this
what he
another movie
who's
I
that?
should
A
watch?
big piece of
Scent of
tail.
Woman. Yeah. Well, speaking of movies we're going to watch, I can announce this. I haven't announced this yet. Steph and I are going to be watching the Rocky series. We're going to be doing full-on first-time watches for Steph. Well, Steph's seen number 1, but we'll rewatch for that one. But from 2 all the way to Creed 2 and the lead-up for Creed 3, Steph and I are going to be doing that on the channel. So be on the lookout for that. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about Andor, and let's just get right into that.
Let's do it.
Andor, everybody. Episode 8. And the lead-off, and again, it's the spoilers for everybody who hasn't already known that from watching this show. Episode 8, Andor is coming off of the beaches of Miami, and he's arrested. He got himself arrested, everybody. And it is a really, really great thing to see Andy Serkis show up.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it. I didn't know he was going to be in it.
Nobody did.
Yeah, it's great. I love that.
I loved that. Now,
Don't announce crap. Just throw them in there.
Yeah. Now, here's my question for you, which I'm gonna get right into it with you guys.
Okay.
So Andy Serkis is obviously part of the Disney family with his Black Panther and Ultron, and obviously
Jungle Book. Or no, that was Netflix.
That was a different, but he's been part of it and obviously
Star
from
Wars.
the part of Star Wars with the original trilogy. Now, because he played the character of Snoke.
Yeah.
So my question is, this character he is playing, is this a character that they started to do experiments with that eventually, because he's working for the Empire, that eventually turns into a Snoke clone? Or they use him for the Snoke clone? Or is he just a random character that, hey, we want to have Andy Serkis back in Star Wars? Steph, what do you think?
That would be crazy. I mean, maybe. I think that they're trying to tie up some of those loose ends with the Snoke storyline. So I think that would enhance it, but I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's just another character for him.
Yeah, I'm the same thought.
Yeah,
I think it's just that to me is too convenient. Like,
why? Why is it convenient? I happen to agree with you both, but why is it?
I don't know. It's just this random prison guy on a planet that's not even there. We're going to use this guy's image. I think this is like, hey, we love Serkis. We want to get him back. Well, he's not the face of this. Snoke wasn't. I mean, they used this thing, but they.
Right.
Whatever, it's not him.
I happen to agree with you both.
You should.
I shut your face.
It's a smart bet.
Just because it's your birthday, don't start asking for favors. But I do think that it is. You can get Andy back. You get him back because just the amount of power he brings when he shows up. And I was like, Andy Serkis is one of my favorite actors on the planet.
He's great.
So when he shows up, I was very excited for that. But there's so much that happens in general in this episode. Steph, let me get your thoughts first. Overall, breakdown thoughts of this week's episode, and what'd you think?
It was excellent. They're just I don't know what episode I love the most. They're just doing an incredible job world building and relating it to our world. And then I feel like staying really true to the original Star Wars. Like they want to relate to real life oppression that happens. And then they're slowly building it, which we're not used to that sort of pace where we actually get to see how things unfold in a way like 30 days went by, in one episode,
right.
which makes a lot of sense. And it was like, this was the first episode first thing in Star Wars where Star Wars does an incredible job where like you're obsessed with the villains, right? You kind of love them. I hate them.
Right.
I want them all to die so badly.
Right. Yeah, they're all not. They're like Nazis.
They're war. They're like so much like more methodical than we've ever seen and like, slower paced. I loved it.
Now, Mike, I'm going to call on you this episode because I'm going to use your inner geekdom champion brain. Because
it's going to be tough. I know. There's a lot of stuff in there.
Well, doing it from now on because we got roasted last week because we were calling Luthen Lucian. And
that's not you shouldn't get roasted for that. It's
they don't care. They roast you for anything. But we said Luthen was
Luthen
and Bix. What is the main our Imperial, the woman who is doing the main investigation?
I think I know it.
Is it Kiva?
No, I
Kiva?
think, isn't it
No.
Dedra?
Dedra?
Let's call her that for that. The audience can correct us. But that was my favorite. So
that's what you're calling me by knowledge for?
Yeah.
That's your knowledge. I don't know. That's not inner geekdom BS.
I don't do these things.
I thought you were talking about like Melshi and stuff. Like Melshi, he's from Rogue One.
It's my favorite. Last week, someone goes, "Why did you do the research?" I just wrote back, "No."
No.
You knew who I was talking about, right?
I'm watching the show, guys.
But you knew who I was talking about.
Yeah, I don't. Here's the thing.
What are you real professional? Let me tell you something.
Here he goes.
Let me tell you something. For people who are coming in here, when I learned, it took me 3 episodes to learn some of the character names in Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. Okay, and I got there. Give me a break. Okay, you're gonna find other people out there that know it and they do the research and they're ready to go and they got their whiteboards and they have people holding up. It's a big and that's not me. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna have a conversation with you and I'm gonna say, okay, we'll get there. Like I said, we got to Luthen. We got there. It took you screaming and yelling at it, but we got there. So don't give me do your research. No. Okay.
He also goes by 8 different things. Now they're calling him the Axis. It is Dedra Miro.
See?
Dedra.
So you were right.
So,
no, you were right.
I was right.
You were right, but I had I had an M in there.
But that's talked about Dedra.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you that question. So because Dedra to me, it's weird because like as Steph says, you hate all these people, the Imperials.
Hate.
And especially her because what she did in this episode in general, she's a damn mental warfare.
Yeah.
The way she plays, right? She did a couple different things. She's talking to Cyril, and I know his name. So she's talking to him and she's like, everybody's watching behind the doors. She's playing him the whole time. He's like, but I want to do this. I want to do that. And she's like, okay, let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
And we'll get all the information we got from this dildo, and let's move on. And then she does it again to Bix later on, where she says, no, leave him.
Yeah.
Leave him. And she's like, what are you doing? Take him out of here. Get him out of here. Like playing these games, and she's really, really good.
Yeah.
The actress is good. The character is great, and she's becoming a very devastating because of her ambition also. So I love the character. But Mike, what do you think overall of the episode? Go ahead.
Let me preface this because I told you guys earlier my first reactions, and I both got the shock and awe. This is my least favorite episode of this series so far, but it's leaps and bounds better than most of the Star Wars television we've got.
Right.
So that says something.
Right.
If your least favorite episode of the series is better than 90% what you've already seen, that's saying something. It's
What
a very
didn't you
high
like
bar.
about it?
No, it's not that I didn't like anything about it. It's just like the first episode didn't really have a lot of action in it either.
Right.
But I just felt, I don't know. This was a catch-up episode. I thought last episode was going to be let's catch up with everyone. This was the catch-up episode.
was,
with
for
everyone.
sure.
But what I did love about this, more than any of the other episodes, this to me felt like a George Lucas 1970s
It did.
episode.
THX.
Yes.
Yeah.
The music,
Yeah.
the not
the way it was
bland,
shot.
the minimalist set design, the costuming. This felt like a 1970s Star Wars film,
and
I loved
that. It really blended into it. And what I loved the episode, and the reason I loved the episode is for what you're talking about. And I had been nervous at first because I said, "Are they gonna?" I said it could be a little dull if they just spend the whole time in the prison,
Right.
but they don't.
Yeah.
They go to the Empire. They go to Dedra. They go to
Mon Mothma.
They go to Bix, they go to Mon Mothma. And the other thing I said about the episode, this is why this show is so brilliant and reminds me, and it also really cemented down the fact that they should be absolutely 100% until I'm blue in the face adapting their novels, because tell me that scene between Dedra and Serial Boy didn't feel like a scene out of a novel. Like you could, you could see the writing of it to where it plays and how it transferred the dialogue. And the other dialogue, real quick, is the other dialogue that really played and things you learned. How much information did you get in this episode? Right, we learned Mon Mothma was married off when she was like 14 or 15 years old. We learned that Fiona Shaw's character was the president of whatever she
the
was.
Daughter, yeah.
Do your research.
Right, exactly. But we learned more about Bix. We learned these little tidbits of information
You need
that
it.
pop up.
Very
Yes.
detailed.
Like, and that to me is like, you make a great point with the novel, and that's why when people say, "Oh, the book's always better than the movie," because they've got to cut out when they're making movies stuff like this.
But
But on a TV series, you don't. You get those moments
you can evolve,
of the character, and
evolve.
that's why I'm curious to think is when I go back and watch it, why this one? Because we've had episodes where it's just people talking. So what I did love, I think the most for this episode was watching Andor, his brain work in that prison. The minute he walked in there, he's like, "How am I going to get out of this?" And every single second. And then it kind of made me feel a little bit like Face Off. I don't know if you remember that movie with the magnetic boots and stuff. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. But so that was great. I'm just.
I feel like it's gonna be from listening to you talk. I feel like on a rewatch you're gonna like this episode
probably.
more.
And I 100% am okay saying, hey, I was wrong.
Oh, I don't think you necessarily matter of wrong. It's just
No, I know.
It. To me, it's like not a filler at all. To me, it's like they took every issue that I find with like the lazy parts of Star Wars where they're like, oh yeah, let's just shoot the blaster door so it locks. They don't do that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's like they're planting seeds that actually make sense, because realistically, if they go to this prison, which I love that it replicated our prison system with free labor and like the high security. He has to, this is how Andor is becoming Andor. He's looking at everything, he's picking up things, and I like the fake outs of, you think he's going to escape because we're used to that.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not, because he has to plan it.
Yeah, and they're trying to figure out where the hell is he, and that's the whole Luthen's whole thing, and then that build out for Luthen and the stuff with Saw, which we'll get into. That was the stuff.
No, not yet.
It's like
But
a
okay, so with
masterclass.
Luthen, thanks for bringing that up. Do you think Luthen wants to find him to kill him? Because that's what I'm like getting. Like
It looks
that's
like
the loose end.
Yeah.
It looks like loose end.
And he's just like, this guy's out there.
Well,
he
that's why
knows
he's sending
everything. He knows
Bell.
what I look like.
That's why he's sending Bell.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, but I don't. It's so
Oh, that was the other thing.
like
real
Stellan
quick.
Skarsgård. So you're with him. Certain actors, when they're cast in a role, you're like, he's going to turn bad eventually. Skarsgård doesn't have that.
No.
He doesn't have that like.
He's
oh,
the
I'm waiting.
architect. He's the architect of the rebellion.
So you wanted to so believe his line of BS that he fed Andor at the beginning.
I don't think it's BS.
That's what I'm saying. We don't know at this point. Is it BS? Was he just saying because he needs this thief and he knows he can do it? Was he using it, or does he truly believe that this is the guy that's a key to the rebellion?
I think it's
we
a
don't
little.
know.
I think it's both, because I think as his assistant says to him, don't fall asleep on this. You got shut it down.
Yeah.
That's the move you need to make. Yeah. The second you start slipping up,
right?
It's over.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, all right, shut it down. And he's been talking to Bix for a while. He's like, you got to cut loose ends. His whole thing is, we know this is going to cause, as he says to Saw, this is going to cause oppression. Yeah. And that's going to build more of the rebellion. But the other line was Vel. When we learn what's her Cinta. When Cinta says, I was thinking about playing a rich girl who runs away. They don't even say it, but she's talking about Vel. And Vel's like, that's a deep blow that came from you. And you're like, we just learned so much about Vel in one sentence of dialogue. We just learned so much. It's like, oh, well, that's what you said last week. Yeah. She cleaned up so well when she went back because that's who she is. It's where she comes from. And now it all makes more sense. Every episode more starts to play in. The rewatch of Andor,
right?
When you go back to it after watching a full season, it's going to play like a 12-hour film.
Yeah, I want to binge it.
I can't wait to binge it. And I'm very curious to hear your opinion on this episode once, because I understand where you're coming from, where it's like when you look at the other things, but I think this episode goes and plays into episode 9 even more.
Yeah,
so
I'm just curious because again, I'm not like, I needed to see some action, because I haven't needed to see action this whole series. Yeah. Halfway through, and I don't care about the action.
It was just the intrigue was there for you, but not like it was in previous episodes.
And Steph, to your point, what you said about the villains, I think the great thing about this is because we're so used to the villains, like when we first met Boba Fett or Vader, they're so cool and we're like, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
These people we know,
not a lot of aliens.
In life.
Yeah.
These politicians and even our own jobs, we know these people, these backstabbers that will try and do whatever they can to show favor. These are real people, the police and the way they act. We know these people, so that's why we see the evil and this awfulness.
You see the silly comments like, "Why is Star Wars doing politics?" Always have. Look
at my God!
Look at the old George
If
Lucas
you
Star
say
Wars.
that and you 100% believe that you've never watched Star Wars,
or you've never listened to an interview with George Lucas.
Oh my God!
His
talking about Vietnam and everything.
It was all built off of politics.
Come on.
What do you think a war is? It's politics, and that's what I think the genius of the show is. They know exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to show you how a rebellion is formed. And just like in our real life, we could have the same beliefs, right? We could believe that LGBTQ rights matter, but we want to enact it in a different way. And that's what you see with Saw Gerrera, Mon Mothma, and Luthen, that they all have the same vision, but completely different ways of how they want to do it.
And that is what was so brilliant about that Luthen and Saw scene.
That scene was great.
That scene was amazing. We get from the second they sit down together, because if you follow Saw Gerrera in the Clone Wars had his sister. His sister was taken from him, and he kind of just says, "Okay, now I'm bucking against the system." But when you get to him in Rebels and in what the hell, I forget the name of it. Last time I forget the name of it now. The video game that came out with Cal Kestis.
Fallen Empire?
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. Yeah, Fallen Order. So
Jedi
Steph crushing it today.
You are killing it.
But the Fallen Order, he's in that. And in Rebels and in that, he's not as in Cuckoo Land as when he's in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Right. He's kind of in a mix in this episode.
Yeah,
right?
He was kind of not there yet.
Because when he's sitting down with Luthen, and they have this great moment up top, and they're like, "You did that thing. No, you did it. No, you did it. No, you did it."
What you just said made me believe you did it, but you did it.
It was such a nice moment, and then they're having this conversation between the two of them where they both, as you said, they respect. They all have different ideas, and what you were talking about, Steph, is that everybody has their own way of how they want to do this, but Luthen's the one going, "Yeah, but if we don't do it together, we're done."
Yeah.
And he's like, "So help out, dude." And
how about Flyboy McGillicuddy?
Help him out.
Yeah.
But he's not even doing that.
Right.
Like with Mon Mothma, she's like, "Yo, chill," and he's like, "No, this has to be the way it is."
My way.
He's not even taking his own advice, but. Yeah, that scene was just like one of those ones where you're just like, oh man, that must have been so fun to film.
Oh, it was.
These two just sitting together.
Yeah, and he's having this conversation, and it's great to have Forrest. You get both Forrest Whitaker and Andy Serkis back in this episode, and you think that, and you see, I call him Tony Two Tubes.
The one guy standing outside with the long machine gun,
or the gun.
Yeah,
but I call him Tony.
When I saw that, I was like, Saw's coming.
Yeah, the second you see him, you know that's his boy. So it's like Silvio out there. Hey, you can see him. He's inside.
Silvio!
That's the great thing about Star Wars creature design. They're so iconic, and they nail it all the time, that when one person shows up, and I think he had a couple lines in Rogue One, or might even had a line. But you're like, oh, here comes Saw. You just know.
It's his boy.
It's great.
Yeah, it's a win.
Oh, and there's one guy in the prison with...
Melshi.
Yeah,
Which one?
that's good.
Melshi, he's the gunner in Rogue One. He's one of the rebels on
The
Andor's.
one that was
Oh, is that-
talking to Andor on the floor the longest before
Yeah.
Andy.
That's why they keep saying Melshi.
Interesting.
He's
Okay.
one of the people when
Well
they go to
done.
Scarif.
See, look at that. See, that's why,
that.
and that's why you have them on there. So and that's very important.
Their friendship.
Yes, and it makes a lot of sense. Now, when going back to the Imperial scene when they're all sitting around the table, is that Yularen again that she's talking to?
Which one's Yularen?
The one from the Game of Thrones actor?
No. Yularen was like the main, one of the main Imperials. From,
yeah.
from
That
episode 4.
Yeah.
And
With the hair and the
white hair,
little white
the
curl?
main guy he's talking to,
Yeah.
not the guy that she's not.
The main guy who's now looking over is like, well, what was this?
Yeah.
He's in the Clone Wars.
Right, but he's also in episode 4.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
go
like
back
a
and
top dog.
Yeah.
But I know he was in Clone Wars.
Right, so it is Yularen that she's talking to. So
Yeah.
that's why I loved this episode. There's so much detail of it, and that's for again I always push back at somebody who's like saying it doesn't feel like Star Wars. I mean, do you get any more Star Wars than this?
I don't know.
It's felt
Yeah.
from the beginning Star Wars to me, and I know
Maybe
why
up
the
top,
people say it.
maybe up top, I saw some people who were like, "Yeah, at first it didn't, but now as you watch it through, it
It's
certainly
because
does."
we don't have the normal tropes, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's different, yeah. But even with the Mon Mothma stuff, I
Yes,
love how
let's
you were
talk about
saying
that.
like we got to know more about like how she met her husband and
Yeah.
when they were like,
Arranged.
"That's so romantic," and he was like, "Traditional." Like they
Right.
do not like each other. There's something up with the daughter too. This is the
she's
third
still-
time.
She's a rebel.
You think she's gonna?
I don't
be
know.
an
There's
Imperial?
something up with her because this is the third time she comes up very wearily
Yeah.
to her mom and then dips.
Right.
What is she doing? And all the conversation with Mon Mothma when they're talking about Palpatine, the Emperor.
Oh, right.
And they're like, well, if they just follow orders, then it should be okay. And he's
Yeah.
like, well, I'm worried about what's following orders.
Right.
And then it's like, that's exactly how. And then they go to laugh, and that's how politicians are. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah we care about our people, but. Oh, we're gonna just sip our nice wine, and it just like they can forget about it so
What's
easily
going on with
because they're
Putin,
not.
man?
Yeah.
So it's like it's for sure, and it absolutely was fascinating to watch her. And Genevieve O'Reilly is just next level in
She's
this
my
show.
favorite character.
Oh, she's so good in this show, and she's doing it so right. The Mon Mothma, where I know my position. Like everybody has their positions, right? You know what? As Luthen is starting to unwind a little bit, but he knows his position. He knows what he has to do. He's got to play the field sometimes. He's got to play his shop. He's got to move the pieces around. And one of the pieces is Mon Mothma. And Mon Mothma is the inside, really the inside job, like the one who's on the hierarchy of the politicians who can get the access that they need. And she's working the system right now. And she's playing that politician, the smiling politician that she talked about in the last episode, saying, yeah, but what you see here, the one that they all see, that's not who this is. And then she's working with her high school buddy, and they're doing all this stuff. So her storyline is fascinating, and you're learning more. And just like, I love that they don't have to spend 4 paragraphs of dialogue to tell you, well, then what happened is I went here and I did this, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
It's like a sentence or two, and you go, oh, and they do that like 4 times in this episode. Oh, you just told me so much about that character from one line of dialogue.
Yeah.
I learned so much about him, and that's why this writing is so good and so deep that you care so much more about it. And I want to know, like, that even when Andy Serkis says to Andor, he goes, "You walk and you sleepwalk?" He's like, "No." He's like, "Okay, well, you better hope not," or whatever he says.
And then you know the
we know why.
floors.
Yeah.
The way the prison setup is masterful. You know, they
Yeah.
have. This is how oppressors work. They pit you up against your own people so that you don't have time to think about how you would form a rebellion against them. And the fact that they're like all in these groups of 7, right, and set on
Something like
7
that, yeah.
floors,
Yeah.
and they're all in competition, not only with their
Thought it.
room but with the entire building. It's so well done.
It is, and the other thing that you look at is that it's essentially it shows you, and it goes back if you look at it, this kind of that why that kangaroo court exists in episode 7.
Yeah.
Because they're building out their workplace. The Empire's building out their workplace, and they go, okay, we're not going to pay for anybody to do all this and what it's going to cost, so let's just arrest people wrongly. Who's going to stop us? Arrest who you can. Round them all up, put them in the prisons. Slavery. Have them round them all up, have them build stuff, what we need, and that's another great thing about that you always wondered as a kid is like, how'd they build all this stuff?
Yeah.
Right? Now you know. They just arrested. There's so many planets, so many populations. You round them all up, put them in prisons, have them build out. Well, we didn't get your lawyer. Okay, good. We're going to pay the lawyer okay, you work for the Empire now.
That's literally how the
That's it.
world has worked since the beginning of time. If you want to know how any great masterpiece has been built in our country, everyone's country, it's been on the backs of slaves and people who have been wrongly imprisoned. And I just love that detail where they're, because you always wonder how the Empire built this.
How did it do it? Yep.
And it's like, oh, because you guys were just locking people up, and then they can't. But then it's genius too, because the prisoners themselves know it was the rebellion's fault for these people. All of their sentences went up.
Yeah.
So now they hate the rebellion. So even when they do get out, they're going to be like, screw this rebellion. You guys just increased our sentences by tenfold.
Right. And I think that's exactly why we got this moment from I think, oh, sorry, the whole thing went down on me. Here we go. Where'd it go?
What are you doing?
Trying to get I don't know why Steph's camera went out.
Oh no, Steph, you're just
nuts.
You're too gorgeous for it.
All right, so
Jesus,
look,
breaking
so
cameras
let's
left
get
and right.
into a couple more things with this show, this episode. I think that where we go now, because we also got to talk about Bix, right?
Yeah.
Now
Bix is in trouble.
she's in
Bix.
trouble.
My girl.
Now we know that she's going to survive because she signed on for episode 2. For season two. Season
Okay.
2. So she signed up.
Did she?
Yeah, she signed up
Okay.
for season 2. So we know she's going to survive. The question is what kind of life is she going to be leading? Are they going to do one of the traditional Star Wars missions and break her out and get her out, or are they going to let her go and they're going to break her to get, Andor, because they're trying to she cares about Andor, obviously cares about it. I mean, that whole stuff that happened on that planet also, sometimes you could be nervous going, oh, we're going back to this planet again.
Yeah.
Like because it could have gotten repetitive. Okay, now we're gonna deal with Bix, and she's worried about Andor, and then okay, so you're dealing with the mom, but it worked. It just fit because of the care that went into it, and the idea of what I don't know of where he had to go and how he had to come back, and he's not coming back. He can't come back.
Yeah.
I think Cinta is going to save Bix, maybe. Because Cinta's still there, and Andor's not coming back to Ferrix. So I think Cinta's going to break her out or something. Because she's on to her.
Who's got Luthen's medallion, his Kyber? Do we know?
I think Vel.
He gave it to Vel.
Okay, so she's got it. Okay.
Yeah, so Vel has it, and Vel is now looking for...
But Cinta doesn't know about Bix, right?
No, she does. Remember when they were sitting and looking, and they were like, why are they outside of Cassian's house?
Yeah, they were talking about it. Yeah. So either way.
I don't know if she knows if she's like with the gang or
right,
not.
that's
but
what I'm trying to...
She is aware of
She's
her.
aware that that's a contact with him, with Andor.
And probably, I think it's safe to assume that Vel knows that Bix might have been the original contact to connect Luthen and Andor. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that overall, we all agree this is one of the. Well, no, and Mike still needs to go back and watch it, but you can't say that it's not detailed. It's a very
no. I'm not.
Episode.
That's what I'm saying. Again, my least favorite episode of this is probably my most favorite episode of several other shows.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder if they're going to do. I wonder how they're going to play into the next episode. So I guess that's a question. Before we move on.
I'm curious.
Shawshank Redemption.
Of all the characters, Cyril.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah.
Because there was his one shot, and I thought, she's going to see this in him, this hunger.
She's
like, no, you shut your mouth. You do this again.
You thought they were going to bang?
Yeah, they were talking each other's love language.
Yeah.
Or I thought, maybe once these guards are gone, she'll go, hey, I dig what you're doing. You're going about it wrong. We need people like you. Come meet me here.
She's going to come back for him. That's why
I think she's just like, this peon is going to ruin what I've got.
She's going to need him.
She's steamrolling over every dude that comes into her face. Steamrolls him.
And I think, that's true, but I do think that she's going to circle back and need him, and I think he's going to be the reason Luthen dies.
I think he's the reason she's going to die. I think Cyril's getting her.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That'd be cool.
He's going to surpass her in Curly McHugh's, Judge Curly McHugh's court there. I don't have a name for him, but I think he's going to show up in there with this white high collar, and he's going to do what she did to the other guy. Just call him out in her BS and go, nope, I found this. None of you wanted Andor. I had him on this planet, and you let him go.
Yeah.
I'm the reason.
Tough. Well, we're going to find out next week, episode 9. We're almost, 4 episodes left.
Still.
And it's still got a lot.
2/3 of the way through.
Still a lot left, but still 9, 10. And what I have liked also is that the episodes have been longer. This episode was like 48 minutes.
So
it's like 56 minutes, I think.
Well, 50.
Oh, you're saying, yeah.
So do you feel, because again, 8, 9, and 10 are the little jab, hook, uppercut. Do you think the uppercut is going to be the jailbreak?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We're on the same page.
And I think that's probably why you're going to wind up liking today's episode. Or
Yeah.
last
When I
episode.
watch them as a block.
Yeah.
Totally.
I get
Yeah.
you. I get you.
Because depending on how the execution of the next episode is, if it turns out to just be like a wet fart, then probably not.
That makes a good point. Because number one, remember, it felt very Blade Runner, like we were so much into the tone. And now this episode, THX, 70s, like it sets the tone for the next three. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
That's what they do. So
all right, look at that.
I'm telling you, I think I can even tell from the way you're talking about it, it just feels like once it plays. It's,
You think you know me?
Well, yeah. Because last week, as we were talked about, it was essentially. I mean, part of the overall series, obviously, but it wasn't part of that jab.
Right.
thing.
It was its
Yes.
own.
It was its own thing, and it was him, recovering
Trying
from
to
the mission,
vacate.
and then going on vacation and getting caught. And that was it. It served its purpose for what it was.
Gotcha.
This is a clear setup for the uppercut that's coming next week.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. What's next week?
That's going to be the
I don't think they're doing a three. I don't think they're doing a three
we
block.
went over this last time. Yes.
I don't think they're doing
1,
a
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by itself, 8, 9, 10.
From what I heard,
And then the 2 arc finale.
what I heard is that they were doing.
Heard wrong.
Well, okay, but I heard that they were doing the 2 arc and then another standalone type thing, and then another 2.
You know
What?
what's weird though
Yeah.
is that I read some reviews, and a lot of the reviewers, they were on kind of more towards Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then it's like Roxy,
man of the people.
our friend Roxy, has liked the show, hasn't loved it, and loved this episode.
Right?
Yeah, I think it's like
Yeah.
maybe it's
well,
a
that's
split
interesting.
decision type episode.
Okay.
I think that this show also is going to play so differently to people once the season is over.
Yeah.
And you play the entire season because if you're getting Saw Gerrera and Andy Serkis and everybody back, and there's these and they kept Andy Serkis a mystery, which never happens.
That's great. I love that they did that.
I did too. Jimmy
me
Smith
too.
hasn't really ever been announced. He'll show up. Jimmy Smith will show up. The question is, are they going to have the actor who got cast for Hera in Ahsoka?
That's right.
She show up.
Smith hasn't been in yet. I just,
Bail Organa's got to get involved. You got to involve Bail Organa.
Yeah, he'll be involved.
You have to.
Well, especially when Mon Mothma starts getting more powerful.
Yeah.
Like in her as the leader of the rebellion.
Yeah, you have to. So
You know who's we're going to also meet eventually? What is she proposing?
I hope
We're going to
so.
meet that guy. We better meet that guy.
I really hope so. All right, listen. So before we move on to more of the conversations that we obviously have to have about certain other shows and Tales of the Jedi, let's talk about Wondery. And so Wondery, we've been working with for a little bit here, and what I love about what they're doing is they got the Lord of the Rings official podcast, and a lot of people have been watching the show. I finally watched the show. I watched the series finale. I really enjoyed it. The last 4 episodes, I think, really delivered. And so if you want to go deeper into the canals of Numenor, and you want to go into the minds of Khazad-dûm and more, you do it with the official Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power podcast. Felicia Day, friend of the Brett Sheridan man, and several special guests. They provide an inside look at the groundbreaking series and what it took to bring Middle-earth to life. So each episode of the official podcast features exclusive interviews with the series showrunners, J.D. Payne, Patrick McKay, including the very first full breakdown of the incredible season finale. Felicia also goes behind the scenes with the cast and the crew to bring you jaw-dropping stories and Easter eggs that you don't want to miss. So watch The Rings of Power on Prime Video and listen to all 8 episodes of the official Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power podcast for free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app right now. All right. So as we now move on, ladies and gentlemen, we got more stories to talk about. We got more things to talk about. And there is so much happening in the world of Star Wars. What a Star Wars week it was. Let's go past Andor now, and let's talk about this one. Let's talk about, as Jeff Snyder mentioned a little while ago, remember this, Steph, when we talked about it months ago? Jeff Snyder broke the story that Lindelof is doing his own movie. And he had been working on it, he'd been talking about it. Well, it looks like that deal is pretty much done. And I told you guys many times over, I said, this should be the movie that they lead with. Not Taika, not anybody else. This should be the movie if they indeed. Now listen to all the news coming out about this movie.
All right, I'll listen to it.
So I'm gonna rewrite Star Wars Newsnet's article a little bit because they said shortly after Deadline broke the news. Oh well, that's not true. That's not true. Deadline did break the news that Damon Lindelof's Star Wars movie found its director in Charmin Obaid-Chinoy. New details on the project have now emerged from The Hollywood Reporter. So, according to reputable reporter Boris Kitt of The Hollywood Reporter, Lindelof has selected Justin Britt Gibson, whose credits include The Strain, Into the Badlands, and Counterpart as a co-writer for his Star Wars screenplay. Brett Gibson was brought on board after a secret writer's room was assembled to flesh out a story for the project with Patrick Somerville, Lindelof's partner on The Leftovers, who would go on to make Station 11. Raina McClendon, Briar Patch, The Walking Dead, World Beyond, and the upcoming Willow Disney Plus series, and Andy Greenwald, who also worked on Briar Patch, all participating, alongside other writers. Longtime Star Wars television creator Dave Filoni, I know Steph loves that, was also believed to have been part of these meetings. Lindelof and Brett Gibson are said to be hard at work on the screenplay, as with any Star Wars project at an early stage in development, story details remain vague and away from the public. However, one detail of note is that the film will be set at some point after the events of The Rise of Skywalker, but it would not be a story serving as a direct continuation of the Skywalker saga. With that said, Hollywood Reporter says characters from the sequel trilogy could appear in this new narrative. Lindelof's Star Wars project is being conceived as a single film, telling a complete story while leaving room for follow-ups based on its success. The Hollywood Reporter notes a change in Lucasfilm's approach, steering away from traditional trilogies, a departure from the classic Star Wars film setup, as well as the previously announced Rian Johnson trilogy and a series of films by Game of Thrones veterans Benioff and D.B. Weiss. Both of those projects are on the shelf due to Johnson's commitments and Benioff Weiss's commitment to Netflix adaptation of The Three-Body Problem. Johnson claims he still wants to make the movies, though the status of that trilogy has been ominous since announced 5 years ago, and Benioff and Weiss seemed back out of their deal with Lucasfilm entirely. The next two theatrically released Star Wars films are set to arrive on 2025, December 19th and December 17th, 2027. None of those reported projects have been assigned to either date. Disney nor Lucasfilm have confirmed nor denied the reports of a Damon Lindelof-led film. All right, so much.
Yikes!
A lot to be said here.
Yeah.
Let's start with the first is that the director of the project, so where they announced it, like I said, Snyder reported this a long time ago that Lindelof was working on something, and then they're talking about the actual director herself, which we'll bring up in a moment here. And Steph, I don't know, have you seen any of these reports so far?
Yeah, I've been following the Lindelof as much as they've been reporting it. I love Lindelof. I loved The Leftovers. The fact that this would be paired with who he was working with on that show. Have you seen that show?
I've not.
It's incredible.
That's is that Justin Theroux?
Yes.
It's literally
Leftovers is
incredible. I had heard about it for years, and finally during like the beginning of the pandemic, my mom and I just binged the crap out of that show. It's so good, and I feel like he is a type of writer I would love to see what they do with Star Wars, especially if it's separate from Skywalker saga.
Yeah, even though and I do love the idea that you could see those characters show up.
Yeah,
same way they've been doing in the actual. You don't like that. You don't like that. Why don't you like that?
I'll hold my face.
All right, yeah, hold your face. The reason I like it is because they're starting to take a page out of what they're doing successfully in television, and combining that over. And I absolutely love the idea that they're not announcing a trilogy, and I love the idea that they're going to do a standoff movie that could potentially lead into spin-offs should this prove to be successful and people want it. That's the way they should approach stuff from the beginning, going, all right, well, if people really respond to this character, then we can start to develop this and we can start to develop that. And I also think depending on if the story serves it and it seems like they believe in it enough, they'll also develop a show around it as well to play the same way that Marvel kind of is playing off of shows and into movies. And speaking of Marvel, the director is the director of a lot of the Ms. Marvel stuff. So, and which she came out and that show was masterfully directed. So all of this stuff so far, I really enjoy what they're talking about. And I think that if you can hold off of it and you can hold for a little bit, bank on your television shows, continue this universe on television, get your movie right, get it straight, develop it the way you are. Love the Filoni's in the room. Love these writers they're listing off. All projects that I'm a big fan of. This, to me, is the most promising thing as far as the project. And I like the Patty Jenkins idea of the Rogue Squadron. I thought it could be interesting in Top Gun in Star Wars. But I was never like, oh, what's this going to be all about? Because I didn't know the team. I was excited about it.
Yeah.
This is the most excited I've been for an idea that has the most potential all the way around. But you're not feeling that way, Mike?
For several reasons.
Okay, you don't like Lindelof.
No, I think
You're not as familiar with Lindelof.
no.
Oh.
I just know the track record, Lost, stuff like that. Where
Yeah.
it's just like, oh,
You've never seen Lost. You didn't even watch it.
I tried, and I when I was not getting answers, and I just kept getting more questions. I was like,
So
nah,
you
I'm not
don't
on
like
board.
good things.
That's not true.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk.
Leftovers,
Anyway.
you got answers.
Yes.
Hold
You
on.
did.
Can I talk?
No.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Is your birthday or something?
I think when I was reading that article and some of the new sequel characters might pop up, I'm like, nope, that's bad.
Why?
And not for me, for your audience.
Why?
Because there's such a negative connotation with that sequel trilogy right now. There just has and it's kind of like, and I'll say this, it's kind of like for a lot of people when you got Cavill back as Superman.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I love it. But there's a whole, it's like, oh, that's part of Snyder's world. And it's not, it's this and that. And it's like,
That's rare. But
I know.
so first of all,
hold on.
Yeah.
I guess, and now thinking about this, and I didn't get hyped at all for hearing this. I'm so in love with the television.
Yeah.
I'm so in love with Andor. I want Star Wars to be more of that now. And I feel like this is going to be back to the old Star Wars that everyone wants to see on the big screen. And you know,
You're singing my tune, basically.
I know, I
Yeah,
am.
yeah.
And I guess, and I'll always be there for Star Wars. I'll never not
Right.
be enjoying Star Wars, but I'm just enjoying what we've got right now. And we have no idea what it's about.
So look, I'm with you, and I think I understand everything that you're saying.
Yeah.
With you know, you're not going to get someone's going to naysay that about the TV because because everything we just saw in Andor just solidified that, right?
Yeah.
The fact that you can really build out, and if they would have just adapted the damn books, they'd have hit series after hit series after hit series.
Yeah.
But the fact of your concern of, well, they're going to put a movie out, it's going to be this kind of standalone, the big popcorn thing, and that's what.
Yeah.
I think Star Wars, as much as I love the TV stuff and I could watch it all day long, that's why I'm okay with it coming out in 3 or 4 years, whenever the hell it's going to come out. But Star Wars needs movies.
I'm not
It
disagreeing
and
that
and
at
not only
all.
does it need movies for the obvious of people wanting to go and see it and be part of the experience, it needs it for the moolah.
Sure.
And I think that what you're going to get with this, and the idea of the sequel characters, I also understand what you're saying here. There is for a lot of people to remember this. Because we do always, whether it's the people screaming about Snyder or whether they like Snyder, don't like Snyder, hate the Rian Johnson, love Rian Johnson, it's still a bubble. It is still a bubble on social media in general, right? You got to look at the movies. You have to look at the casual fan as well.
Sure.
The casual fan will respond to the new trilogy characters, especially younger people. The way that younger people grew up with the prequels respond to the prequels way different than you and I did when we grew up to how we respond to the original trilogy. Those people will be there for the new characters. But besides that, look at how Ewan McGregor in Obi-Wan, even though however you feel about Obi-Wan in general,
The show or the character?
Obi-Wan in the prequel, or however you feel about the prequels in general.
Yeah.
If they're not written very well or whatever it might be, Ewan McGregor popped in that.
Sure.
But he was developed, and you got to see a little bit more of him in the Obi-Wan series,
Yeah.
right? Now, I still think that could have been handled better, but the idea of it was awesome. Now, what if Lindelof can do that for some of the characters of the new trilogy? Someone like Finn, who was just underused completely. What if he comes back, has a better arc this time around because he's training as a Jedi at this point? What if he comes back and he's the guy in a few in a couple scenes? He shows up.
You're 100% right, and I'm one that doesn't stick by my convictions in that sense.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna hate it and it Finn's back.
You're nervous.
I'm along
about
for the
it.
ride.
Yeah.
They're in a very interesting spot with that if they do that, because someone asked me about the Cavill thing, and it's the only analogy I can use right now. Well, WB's in a tough spot because the Snyder side of it, the diehards, that's a very vocal group that has caused change in it. But you've also got the people that love just DC, and then you've got the casual fan. You've got three audiences that WB's, with that Cavill announcement, is trying to appease, and it kind of works. So going into this, you can't alienate the Star Wars fan base. Is the same. You've got a very vocal fan base that does not like those sequels, and you cannot alienate them.
No, you can't.
Because it will go. You've got to, and you can't kowtow to them. You can't be like, we're going to do everything you say. You got to find the Star Wars fans like us that love everything and understand some things don't work, some things do. You got to understand the ones that just like, this is wrong, and then the casual fan that are going to go and don't give a crap about anything else that came
True,
before it. Haven't
but-
watched any TV shows. They
but
just
at
want
some
a movie.
point, I agree. But at some point, you also have to have, let's make a good story. Let's make what we're confident
Sure,
in.
I mean-
and like very similar to what Tony Gilroy did.
Yeah.
Right? Tony Gilroy was saying, I'm just going to make my spy thriller.
Right.
And I'm going to put everything I have into it and make the series.
But
Yeah.
and it's the point. This is the ratings for this, and the viewership is lower than anything before it, which sucks because it's the best that they've done.
Yeah.
From a script story.
Right. But I
Production.
go back to your thing that you don't like that I happen to agree with at
I
this
agree.
point. But
Yeah,
if there were Jedi in it, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
were, then this show would the ratings would be up.
If they could put a lightsaber in a trailer
Yeah.
or a TV spot,
And it would be up.
Up.
Yeah,
In a
if
heartbeat.
Vader shows up, it'll be up. But I like that they're sticking to their guns and they're not doing it.
I love
Steph-
it.
Steph, what do you think overall? I want to get your thoughts on this.
Well, I think that by the time this movie comes out, it will be 6 years, 7 years since the
Oh, wow.
sequel trilogy.
Since 2019.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that's
Yeah.
a huge separation of time to let it breathe and to make people feel differently about how they felt about it. And if they execute on the characters well, it will be fine.
Yeah.
Like I really think
agree
that
with
if
you.
they make a good movie, it sucks that there's so much pressure, but if they do one, they'll be good.
And do you understand now why I'm saying? I know you guys haven't, but to anybody out there, do you understand why now? This is why it's crucial. I'm not telling you you have to scrap the Taika movie. You can't lead with it. You gotta lead with
I
this
think
one. You have to lead with
things
this
are
one.
fluid, and I think we're going to get into that story a little bit about the announcements and whatnot. But it's like we say with Gareth Edwards, the problems and this and that. Why is he not directing X amount of films after Rogue One? And now Taika. I mean, look at Thor: Love and Thunder.
I know.
I mean, yes, the numbers were there. The people will show up for an MCU film no matter what.
Sure, but the love wasn't there the way it was in the past.
and it
for other
wasn't.
things,
So
yeah.
that took a hit, and it was like, oh, let's take a step back and
He's
reevaluate.
stretched too thin, man.
Oh, hey,
working
he's
on
got a
87
very
different
specific
things. Yes.
style, and it fits for a very specific thing and whatnot. I don't think that movie ever sees the light of day.
I don't think so either.
I think it's done at this point.
I think they're going to push it as
I
well.
think Patty's is done too, which I hate.
Patty's is done, but I think
I
that
hate that
Taika's
hers
is
is
going to
done.
happen.
Nope.
If
His
it's
is
going to
done
happen,
too.
it's not going to happen right away. It
No.
can't-
I
it-
think it's going to.
You think it's going to be after this Lindelof thing then?
Yeah.
But that wouldn't be for, you're looking at 4 or 5 years before that thing even comes out, and anything can change. I lean with you and saying it's probably not going to happen at the moment, though. I lean with you thinking they think it will. But if Lindelof movies comes out,
Yeah.
and it's good, and people go, this is the best movie since Rogue One or better than Rogue One, because that's really all it has to be. Because for the most part, because there are people who love a lot of the sequel trilogy stuff.
Sure.
There's a lot of people who don't. Rogue One seems to be more in the balance now, more so now than ever.
When I find people that don't like Rogue One and I see it like at the bottom of their ranking
Yeah.
of the films, I don't understand that. I don't like, and I'm not saying like to
want
belittle them or
Jedis.
something. I'm just like, how do you think that that's not a good movie? How do you put Solo or Attack of the Clones above that?
Dude, I totally forgot about Solo. I just forgot
yeah, I
about it.
Because it's a good movie. It's just not a good Star Wars movie.
Yeah, just
it's a
forgot
cool
about it. The
sci-fi film.
The second half is significantly.
I tell you
better
this, I'm
than
going
the
to say
first
this, and
half.
I go on record every time I do.
Yeah.
If you would have titled that Randar
Oh yeah.
and made a Dash Randar film
Yeah.
with Lando in the
Right,
same,
just changed up a couple things with it.
Infinitely better film.
Absolutely,
Infinitely better.
I agree with you. All right, so we covered that. There's 2 more things we got to cover before we got to go.
what are we going to cover?
Tales.
We got to cover. Well, we can cover. Yeah, let's cover Tales real quick.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then I want to close with that with the Kathleen Kennedy story. But Tales of the Jedi, all 6 episodes dropped. We're going to try to we're going to cover it briefly. We won't give because it just came out, so I don't think a lot of people have.
Yeah, it
really
came
had
out
a
last
chance
night.
to-
I don't
yeah,
think
to see it.
I don't think most people watched it because Andor dropped.
Right.
That means that they would have to be up like me until 2.
and see it. And so
Yeah.
so we're not going to do a spoiler. We'll probably do a little bit more spoilery on next week's episode of this. So we'll just talk about overall thoughts. Mike's only watched 4 episodes. Steph, you watched the whole thing. I saw the whole thing. I think this is fantastic animation. Some of the best, like what stood out to me, which never stands out to me, that I know does stand out to you, is the actual animation
Yeah.
itself is gorgeous. The music by Kevin Kiner is always amazing. He should be scoring live action Star Wars television. I've been saying it forever. The episode 4, which I can say now because Bryce Dallas Howard tweeted out about it.
Yeah.
The Yaddle episode is I think one of the best episodes in Star Wars animation maybe ever. And it because for me, it's like, what furthers the overall story? This furthers the overall story. But I loved it. I thought the voice acting was great. The 3 episodes about Ahsoka, the 3 episodes about Dooku. I was expecting this show to be good. I didn't expect it to be great, and it was so great. Steph, are you with me? Against me? Where are you at?
I'm totally with you. Even from the first episode, I'm so glad they started with the Ahsoka episode because it like really made me emotional.
Yeah, it
like
was, yeah.
truly, I love that episode so much.
Native
And
American themes.
yeah, and just like honoring culture and family, and I just thought it was so beautiful. And I love they're doing a great job of enhancing the prequels. We knew it was going to happen with Dooku, but I'm so glad they did because when I was a kid, like Dooku was a nothing character to me. I like didn't even understand who he was.
Right. He was developed more in the animated Clone Wars series, and then this.
Yeah, but for most people, it's like, what? Like, who are you? And you don't get his relationship to Qui-Gon. So yeah, this is so good. I want to rewatch them actually. I think they're the perfect length.
Here we go.
So I watched up to 4 last night, and I guess I was a little thrown off because I thought Tales of the Jedi, each individual episode being they're so short, was going to be a different Jedi story, a quick little short story in their world, like a book of short stories. I didn't realize that they're all kind of they're going to focus on Ahsoka and Dooku, but every episode I'm kind of like oh that's cool, that's cool, that's how what happened, that's Yaddle, that's why we don't see her in Attack of the Clones. So I'm like, it's filling in the gaps. I don't know. I don't know how.
It's fine to you.
It's fine. Like, is it?
But wasn't Clone Wars fine to you as well?
I haven't gotten through all of it yet. Yes. I don't have the love of it. I'm like season 3 now. I don't have the love that everyone has for these.
You're not an animated.
I love animated.
Oh, you do?
Oh my gosh, you kidding me? Yeah.
Okay. Like the classics, like Batman.
Well, I just binge watch Earth's Mightiest Heroes. If you ever watched that, the Avengers.
Right. So this wasn't. So this, awesome. But this just wasn't for you.
It's not that it's not for me. I maybe because I watched it right after I watched Andor last night. Okay. I'm kind of like,
well, that's hard. That's a hard.
Okay, it's fine.
Different mix, but
yeah, it's. I'm just curious about why. Okay, we did 6 episodes. We're only some are 15 minutes, some are 18 minutes, so we don't have a set time. They're telling the story in the time that they want, and then they dropped them all together, so it's basically 2 hours. I don't understand the impetus behind this series.
Yeah, I think
like
it's
what
in
is
the
it?
same
Like
way
it's not
as
like Visions, where Visions like these are directors that never touched Star Wars and styles you've never seen Star Wars. They're one-offs. We're not going to ever touch them again. Here you go, enjoy. With this, I'm like, okay, it ties into the entire world. You're not making a big deal of it. You're kind of just like, even at Celebration, they were kind of like, Celebration, they were just like, oh, the trailer's online right now if you want to watch it. We're like, what?
I think it's for.
It's kind of like a throwaway, but I'm like,
me and Kristian, like people who love Clone Wars, and like it's gonna enhance
a little gift
the
for you
Ahsoka
guys.
story. Yeah, they have the Ahsoka series coming out. Like this enhances it. Like it makes me.
But just it seems like there's no. I don't want to say even promotion behind this. And there's no.
They're not good at promoting.
Like for me, okay, stuff. I'm pretty much. I know what's going on in the world of Star Wars, but I didn't even know what this was per se, in the sense that like, what is the concept behind this? I thought. Tales of the Jedi. We're going to get a Ulic Quildroma story. We're going to get so-and-so and his Padawan on some planet on a mission story. No, they're telling fill in the blanks story-wise of your favorite characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that not pitched that way? Like the stuff we can't touch, the moments in Andor, the behind the scenes, how they built up the character. This is that show.
Right.
Maybe season 2
But why the hell aren't they
like
pitching that as that?
Well, I'll tell you, the one thing I will say is this, that what I liked about this show, by the end of it, I was like, I would rather see, I did really like the idea that the shortest episode was like 10 minutes. The longest one was like 15 or 16.
Yeah.
I didn't mind that. It reminded me of like Visions, right?
Yeah.
I like that. What I will say is this. Even if they decided they were going to do half-an-hour episodes, I would prefer to see season 2 of this on half-an-hour episodes, and I'd be more excited about it than I am for like Bad Batch season 2.
Yeah, no,
Me too,
it got me like you said with
100%.
Dooku.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, this is great. Like the one where he's like erasing, because it goes back to where Obi-Wan's looking in Attack of the Clones for Kamino's like, there is no planet. He's like, what do you mean there's no planet? We see why he erased it. So it's filling in the blanks. And it's great. It's what the Clone Wars did for everybody. It's going back and helping the prequels. But I'm like, why wasn't this billed as this a little more hype? I mean,
well, all right, we got one more thing to talk about before we get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
And that would be, you're talking about the films before. There's a big story that was going around. The Star Wars Newsnet reported this the other day. And so the report is that Disney president Bob Chapek had a conversation with Kathleen Kennedy, and essentially was like, "Hey, we got to stop announcing movies before they're ready to go because it's just a common thing, and we don't want to keep having the bad will with the fans because nobody believes anymore when they announce movies.
Right?
Nobody believes it. It's like, okay, we're going to be doing a movie now. Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. Patty Jenkins getting a movie. Oh, is she? Gone. Ryan Johnson is having a trilogy. Oh, yeah? Where's that? And then
Benioff and Weiss.
Benioff and Weiss, they're having a movie. Where's that? Kevin Feige. Where's that? Taika Waititi.
I forgot about the Feige
Taika
stuff.
Waititi. Where's that? Josh Trank. Where's that? And then
That Feige thing is never happening.
Benioff and Weiss. Where's that? All this stuff. It's like it just keeps happening. It's like stop doing that. Stop.
So the report, it was Chapek that came down and said that?
Yeah, so that's
because that guy, just being from Florida and worked in the theme parks for so long, that is not a well-loved man.
No, I know.
Outside of everything. I'm just saying as a president of a company.
Oh, yeah, I know. He's got...
Holy God.
Absolutely not. The people don't like him
But this is like a smart decision. Every decision he's made has been awful.
This is a move where you say, hey, please...
But this is like, where did this guy come from?
If it's indeed the
Maybe it was Iger going, hey, tell Kathleen this.
To chill. And it's
he's just like, I was told to tell you to chill on this stuff.
But this is why I go back to this whole news that just happened with James Gunn, right? You know, James Gunn and Peter
Safran.
Safran, yes. So the two of them, what's so brilliant about that overall is that you've got a guy in Safran who's a very good producer. He knows how to crunch the numbers. He knows how to put deals together. He knows how to put the directors, and he knows how to produce film and television. He's done it many times over. Gunn can also do that stuff, but Gunn is a creative powerhouse, right? So the two of them as a team, it's a perfect idea.
And
so what they have is in Lucasfilm, they have a Safran. Safran?
I thought Safran.
Safran, you're right.
Yeah.
I keep saying
like
Safran.
the spice.
Yes. You got Safran. That's all you got in Lucasfilm. You have a Safran. Where is the Gunn that you don't have?
And then on the other side, Marvel, Feige does both roles.
Right.
Brilliantly.
Right. He's got he
does.
But here's the difference. This is my personal opinion. I don't know how true it is. Safran knew, I know what I'm good at, and I'm pretty damn good at it.
Yeah.
But I know what James will do, and I know how we work together really well. So let's do it together. Now, Feige goes, I can do it both. And he's right. I think Kathleen Kennedy goes, I can do it both, and she can't.
No.
And so I think she needs to find James Gunn, and that's where Chapek should come in and go, okay, look, to do what Zavloff did and say, hey, we're going to put somebody else in there with you.
I see what you're saying. And I said this the other day when Gunn was announced. Like, I've always felt, especially like in being at Hall H and stuff, DC always needed a showman.
Yes. Feige
works a room like no one.
Yeah.
And Star Wars doesn't have that. How many times have you gone to Celebration or D23 and you're just like, you're going rote, and God bless Ash Crossan who got that panel the entire day moving with lively
Favreau can put on a show.
Of course he can, but he's not the guy.
Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy.
Put Favreau. Get him in that role.
It seems like a TED Talk when you're Kathleen Kennedy.
Favreau. Hell yes.
Yeah.
Get it full. I know Filoni doesn't want it, but hell, put him in there.
Here's the difference. When Feige's up there and he's talking about this stuff, you feel like he's going to go talk your ear off about it backstage for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy seems like she's got a thing. You think Kathleen Kennedy is talking about Star Wars when she doesn't have to? No, she's not. I'm not saying,
and that's not bad.
I'm not saying she has to, but
I'm a great producer.
But that's also why it comes down to you talk about this Feige thing and what he's built out, and this everybody wants to be Marvel, right? And even DC by putting in and calling it the Feige role, essentially not what they called it, but it's what everybody else is calling it. Everybody wants to fill that Feige role, but everyone tries to do the Feige plan, and that's what Kathleen Kennedy's been trying to do is, well, let's announce these movies and we'll put them out with this. We'll get the hot directors. Stop.
But
doing
even that,
stop it.
Feige had announced they did that, and if you look at those old announcements, it's not the same. He realizes, things change, and it's just because he knows what he knows how to spin, not spin in a bad way. He knows it's like, hey, this is this. The Inhumans, we got Inhumans. Oh, they took him on TV.
And the reason why they can get away with that is because they actually have a plan.
Sure.
That if a couple things inside of the plan fall apart, it's
fluidity.
Okay. A couple wheels fall off. Put the wheel back on.
Yeah.
The paint chipped a little bit. We'll repaint it. This is the engine's out. You know
you're not wrong. I'm not
nothing. It's like
fighting
boom,
on
boom,
this.
boom. No, I know you're not. It's like boom, 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 and it's like just put it together. You have all the mechanics. You got it all. It's just
You need.
yeah. It's just,
do you think it's?
I don't think she wants to give up control.
And I don't think
really
that's the
don't
thing.
think she
I don't think it's been talked about. Like, hey, we need the gun to our Saffron.
Yeah.
Saffron.
So they just lost the one of their main people.
Because I don't think. I don't know. I don't know if Favreau would want it. I know Filoni doesn't want it. From hearing you talk about him, and you know him a lot well.
I don't know him personally.
Not personally, but you know him in the Star Wars role better than I do.
Yeah, I think that
it seems like he wouldn't want to touch anything that really he never had an imprint on as far as his characters.
Yeah, that's
and
what
his
I love.
world.
I love about Filoni, and I still think sometimes it's a thing that holds Filoni back, because I think Filoni's so adapted into the George Lucas philosophy, which is great, but even when you sell it over, it's got to evolve a little bit, right? And I think that's why, from what I hear, and I don't know, I'm not true it is, but like he doesn't want to go outside of anything that he doesn't feel fits the philosophy. He don't want anything to deal with it, right?
Okay,
like,
yeah.
And like the novels, you don't say. I bet you he's got nothing to do.
I wonder
with
what his
Andor.
thoughts are on Andor.
I bet you he doesn't like it. I don't know that. I shouldn't say that. I bet you he probably appreciates it's a really good television show. I don't know how much he feels like it. I bet you he's one of those people that feels like it's kind of off Star Wars. Maybe that's why those people that also feel
That's
that way.
fascinating.
I
I'd
could
love to
also
know
be
that.
wrong. I could also be wrong. He might think it's the most Star Wars thing ever. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But what I will say is I would think that they do need a team to be able to, and if it is Filoni, what Kathleen Kennedy needs to do is to say, all right, because she's run the television department that way.
Yeah.
Even though I think it's still scattered in, like, it's almost like, okay, it's almost like Game of Thrones. Like the Starks are running this, the Lannisters are running this and this, because like you look at like how Filoni and Favreau were not involved in Obi-Wan is baffling to me. They should have been
involved at all?
I mean, I think that Filoni was like a special consultant or something, but he should have been the showrunner of that show. Should let Deborah Chow should have been directing the whole thing, and then they worked together. So let Filoni show run that thing. How you don't have them as the imprint on the television universe? That's what they need.
You know what it is like? It's like the DC television. You got Titans and Doom Patrol. You got Peacemaker,
it's
and
all
no
over
one's
the place.
talking. We don't even know if it's the same. That's
gonna change.
I know it's going to change.
Yeah.
And I think Star Wars, maybe this will be the final. Like, oh, DC finally got it together.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to coalesce this all into one umbrella.
Well, Steph,
under one umbrella.
As we get out of here, tell me your thoughts on this whole Kathleen Kennedy thing. If it's true, I think that you probably feel it's a good move.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it just shows you when people have been in power for so long, most of them become out of touch with normal, like, everyday conversation.
Yeah.
Everyone and their mom's talking about you guys should stop announcing movies, and they keep announcing movies.
Right.
Like, it's not like this revolutionary concept, but when you're so outside of it, I think like you lose a little bit of that touch. And I think that, going to Star Wars Celebration, there's clearly this, as it should be. I don't know if as it should be. Like Lucasfilm and Star Wars to me are kind of two different things now, and it almost should be two different things. Like you have a Willow panel at the same time that.
What was that? What was that?
Oh, did someone put a drink in the freezer?
Oh my god,
that was amazing. I'm gonna keep it in the show.
Yeah, like what?
That
sounded like I thought it was your kid scootering into
No,
the wall.
I think Brett put a soda in the freezer and it blew up.
Did you put it underneath the freezer part? It got real cold.
What was it?
I think it just blew. I think somebody told me to turn up the fridge.
There it is.
How many
It
blew
was
up?
too cold.
Just one blew
Too
up.
cold, like my heart.
What flavor was it? Orange.
Oh,
Damn it!
Orange.
Yeah, don't put it next to the freezer.
Orange.
Son of a bitch. I'm gonna
Anyways,
keep
my
that
thoughts
in
are
there. Yeah.
done.
Okay, we'll go. So, and I guess that's where we'll end the show.
Yep.
We'll end the show with a blowed up sparkling water. Just
Yep.
ate it. All right. So many thoughts from you guys. I'd like to get them. So please, please, please let me know whether it's the Andor review. Let us know what you thought about, whether it's the Tales of the Jedi, whether it is the Lindelof stuff, whether it's the Kathleen Kennedy stuff, all of it. Put it in there. Let me know. Please comment. Really want to hear your thoughts. Thank you to Mike. Thank you to Steph. Mike, once again, happy birthday, my brother.
Thank you, my brother.
And we will see you guys very, very soon. Make sure that you head on over to the merch store. Well, like I said, TeePublic is having a sale, so we hope that you guys head on over there and get yourself one of those shirts. Sith Council selling off the shelf right now.
Is it?
Yeah. So
How's
make
Top
sure-
Gun guy doing?
Top Gun guy?
Not good?
Give it to me, Mike.
The Top Gun guy?
Yeah. So
God damn it!
Hey, Top Gun's doing okay so far, but right now the two big sellers are Sith Council and Show Some Class.
Show Some Class. That's
So
a great shirt.
I got to get Big Thing back up there. So make sure you check that out. Go get yourself one of those shirts. And then thank you once again for joining us here today. Had a lot of fun. Appreciate you. And we will see you on the flip side. Once again, make sure tonight that you're checking out this channel. Be on the lookout. Have your updates ready because I'm going to be doing the Black Panther straight out of the theater reaction. So make sure you check that out.
Are you allowed to give a reaction tonight?
Tonight, yeah, social we can, but no review for like another 2 weeks. But tonight, out of the theater reaction for me, and check out all the other stuff here. Thank you once again. Appreciate you. I'll see you on the flip side.
I can feel your anger. It gives you focus,
I really thought it was
makes you stronger.
All right. So, as we now move on, ladies and gentlemen, we got more stories to talk about. We got more things to talk about. And there